name's Tony Banks. I'm the chairman of the Balhousie Care Group. I was brought up in Dundee. All my school years were in Dundee, but for a very brief period of time where we emigrated to Canada for 1 year. Unfortunately, my father's health was not too good at that time, and we decided to come back to Scotland. After leaving school, and I had a fairly happy childhood in Dundee. I worked from the age of 11. Always realised that I'd have to work to get the nice things in life. Came from a very ordinary working class family where money was tight, but had a happy childhood, a good upbringing, but always realised that to have those nice things, those extra things in life, that I'd have to work. So from the age of 11, I've done so many different types of jobs, from delivering newspapers, delivering milk, chicken catching, emptying dustbins, working in supermarkets, working on building sites, absolutely anything that would earn money as a youngster. I did okay at school. I then chose to go on to do a degree in accountancy when I left school. At the same time, I joined the Territorial Army to help supplement my grant. And after about 6 or 7 months, I realised that I enjoyed the TA more than I enjoyed the BA, and much to my parents' disgust, I went and joined the regular army. I spent 6 years in the regular army. I joined the Parachute Regiment, and the reason I joined the Parachute Regiment was because I saw them as an elite brand, the best of the best, and I wanted to prove to myself that I could compete at that level. And that gave me a really good grounding for the rest of my life. I suppose one of the downfalls of that was that I was unfortunate enough to go to the Falklands War, where I saw a lot of death, despair and destruction, a lot of colleagues killed, and saw the aftermath of that. But what it did teach me, on top of other things that happened in the 1980s, which was that both my brothers were killed and another good friend of mine was killed, what it did let me do was appreciate life and realise that life was for living, that I was not going to waste one moment of my time on this planet. And I then realised that what sort of legacy would I leave when I died? What would be on my tombstone? When people remembered me, what would they remember me for? And I really felt it was important that I really tried my hardest to achieve the best that I could do at whatever I did. And that could, I still believe in that today. When I take on a project or take on anything, unless I can give it 100%, I'll not take it on. I don't believe in doing things half-heartedly. The analogy I often use is that I don't go out for 2 pints, I go out for 10. If I'm going to go out, I'm going to go out and do it properly. And I think you bring that into your work and your life, about giving it your best shot. I started the care home company back in the early 90s, and really for the first dozen years it was very much a lifestyle business to me. Nothing too outrageous. It wasn't setting the heather light, it was doing okay. I'd rather spend my time hill walking or skiing rather than working too much on the business. I think I then got the midlife crisis at the age of 40, where I decided that it was time to grow the business. I'd seen a lot of people come and go in the industry and felt I could do it a lot better. And also I'd built up quite a good experience then in the business world. I'd worked in a number of different areas within the care home business and built up experience in a lot of different fields, from property to finance to people. And I just felt that it was time to to have a new challenge. That challenge was twofold. One was to grow the business, but it was also to get involved in other businesses. So even though the care home company is my main business, I'm involved in a lot of other businesses. I then also got involved with an organisation called the Entrepreneurial Exchange, and that was more about me giving something back to other entrepreneurs, to help them, to mentor them, to maybe help them avoid the pitfalls and the mistakes that I'd made, or point them in the right direction if they're needing some guidance or introductions to people. And that was my way of encouraging entrepreneurship within the Scottish community. I do think that as a nation, we do not have enough entrepreneurs, we do not have enough people who want to work for themselves. And I don't know if it's a lack of ambition or it's just a cultural thing. And I want to encourage people to get into business for themselves. So here I am now sitting in our new head office in Perth, which is lovely. Business is going well. It's tough. Economic conditions are tough. I don't think I've ever known it so tough in business. So we've had to reevaluate our business plan, reevaluate our methods and how we do things. really value our relationships with external stakeholders. But life's exciting. Life's exciting because I do see a future, I do see a bright future, I do see opportunity. I do see opportunity in the current economic climate, and I think that things can only get better. I take a particular interest in youngsters. Here at Balhousie Care Group, in fact today as we speak, we have a new course starting where we're working with the Prince's Trust. The current economic climate has led to a situation where the young people are being written off. They're talking about the lost generation. Well, if you tell people they're written off and they're lost, that's what they will be. So we need to make sure that we're encouraging the kids and we're telling them that they're not lost and that we believe in them, because they are the future of the country. So we need to invest in these children and we need to give them role models that they can believe in. They need to look at other people who have aspired. And I think that's really important. We have to inspire these kids to aspire to something in their lives, to get out of the situation they're in and show them the path, show them that there is a way. And that way might be tough, it might be difficult, but with good work, good attitude, good aptitude, they can make it, and they can make a positive choice and a positive influence on their life. I think it's important to show them role models and give case histories, show them people that have actually done it. Because I think that kids are not stupid. You know, I think young people are not stupid. I think they understand that if you're a 50-year-old man sitting in front of them, that you've had a life. And I think sometimes just getting in front of these youngsters and telling them about your life and telling them mistakes that you made. You know, I've got plenty of skeletons in my cupboard that I can tell them about that they could relate to. Things that I've done wrong, things that I realised were wrong at the time, but still did them. Things that I didn't realise at the time were wrong. But I think it's very much about encouraging these youngsters to take on a career path. Now that career might be working for themselves, or it might be further education and training, or it might be looking at getting into a career where they can perhaps learn on the job and they can see that there's a career path. And you know, I think the care industry is a really good example of that. We have many youngsters who were disenfranchised with education and didn't know where their lives were going and got involved in care at a very young age, and then start to realise that if they applied themselves, there was a pathway through SVQ systems, etc., where they could become a care home manager, earning £40,000–50,000 a year, plus bonus, plus car. And we have examples within our company that of people that have done that, and they really are a good role model. And when we have these courses with the Prince's Trust, I really like to inform the youngsters that are there about the opportunities that are within care. And often what we find is that a lot of these individuals are carers anyway. They may be single parents, they may be caring for somebody at home, so their natural instinct is down the caring field. So it's about giving inspiration and giving the kids something to aspire to. Yeah, they're not all going to be millionaires, but what they can do is have successful careers and contribute to society. And I think that's the important thing, is that everybody contributes to society. And I think children need to understand, young people should need to understand that they do contribute, no matter what they do, that they can contribute and help their fellow man. Parents are not the only ones that have a huge role to play in children's development. I think it's all adults that they engage with, particularly the educational sector. I think there is a huge drive and a huge pressure on children to succeed at school and to go on to further education and university. I'm not sure if that's the right thing. I think, you know, I look back to my days at school, and you tended to fall in three categories when it came to your educational ability. There were obviously the kids that were very bright and would go into university. There were kids that were bright who had no interest in going on to university, who would then go into vocational training and apprenticeships. And then there were kids at the bottom who were totally disenfranchised with education and generally left school and went on to the manual labour type jobs. I think what parents have to do is to look at the successful people they know in life and let the kids look at them as role models. Maybe the parents themselves will be successful, but give the kids some role models and examples of who's achieved, but not just people that have went to university. They've got to say, look at, you know, Tony Banks. He didn't go into, he flunked his university, he left university, but was quite a successful guy. Look at Sir Tom Hunter. who went to be a very successful entrepreneur. Look at Sir Richard Branson, who's dyslexic, who never finished university, who's very successful. Let's look at some of the professionals out there who are successful, who have went on to university and have successful careers. Let's look at the guy that's left school with nothing, become a bricklayer, and has a successful construction company. There are plenty of examples out there, but we need to get the young people focused on what the good examples are, who the role models really are, and the things that are achievable, and things that they can relate to. Because as the world obviously moves on, the job opportunities change, the career paths change, and children have got to understand that success is not just about having money. Success can be gauged in many, many ways, and it's about you as an individual, how happy you are within yourself, but also how happy you make people around you and what you contribute to the rest of society and how you touch mankind when you're out there. That's what success is. Success is not just about money. Success is many, many, many things, and different things to different people. The current environment, the economic conditions that we have at the moment are not conducive to people going and getting jobs. There's not a lot of jobs out there. I think there's 2 or 3 things that you have to think about. One is trying to be creative. Now, what do I mean by that? If you're at a stage in your life where you're perhaps going to be leaving school, you don't know what your prospects are, I think there's a great deal to be said to voluntary work. Becoming involved in organisations where people can see that you're willing to get stuck in, get your sleeves rolled up, give a hand and apply yourself, and perhaps learn some skills. So that may be St John's Ambulance, that could be the Scout movement, that could be the Girl Guide movement. No matter what, it's about people seeing that you've got an ability to get mucked in and they're willing to help and willing to try and build up what skills you can. I think there's also that entrepreneurship that I've talked about earlier on. It's that thinking about how can I make money? How can I do something that will make money? When I was at school, I remember I used to get crisp packets and melt them over the cooker and put a pin on the back and sell them as badges. But it was a quid. But it was a quid that I didn't have. It was an empty crisp packet I picked up off the floor. So it's trying to be innovative about what skills you may have. You may have a musical skill, an art skill. You might just be a hard worker. Go and knock on people's. Don't be frightened to knock on people's doors and ask. People often, you often hear the saying that the stupid question's the one you don't ask. And it's the same with employment. Go and ask for a job. Ask as if there's something you can do. Look at your time schedule. Look at what time you have got available, and go and look at the area that you're in. It might be, if it's a rural community, the farmers might be willing for you to go and give a hand a weekend and help them out. And you could say, if you're going to do it for free, great. But you never know where that might lead. And I think it's that what employers, what people are looking for is people that get off their backside and go and do something. It's the ones that sit at home, want to watch the telly, play computer games, then hang around the shops and start smoking and drinking. They're the ones. They're not impressing anybody that's looking for people for employment. These youngsters are not doing themselves any favour out there. So it's the ones that are willing to get off their backside and say, no, I'm not willing to accept being one of the lost generation. I'm not willing to accept people writing me off. I'm going to take the bull by the horns, because there's no fairy godmother out there. There's nobody going to come and wave that magic wand and help you. And you have to get off your butt and go and do it yourself. And that is about putting yourself around and looking what's available out there, because there are things that are available to help you enhance yourself as a being, as an individual, and get your skills up and show people that you've got a willingness. And I think there's often, that's the thing, is that give me somebody that's willing and we can make them into something. So it's the attitude thing, having the right attitude to employment, to work, the right work ethic, that willingness to learn, and it's that wanting to do better than your peers, wanting to better yourself and try and do something with your life. So it is about getting off your backside and really, really trying to apply yourself and looking for employment, looking how you can get your skills enhanced and showing people that you're willing. Because I think if you show people that you're willing, people will notice you. Obviously, we're living in very difficult economic times. Times of austerity, times of cutback. And I know that most individuals have had to look at where they're spending their money. And I've had to do it as an individual, and I've had to do it for my business. And it was amazed me how much money we were wasting on things that were totally unnecessary. They're nice to have as opposed to desperately needed to have. And that's the problem, is that we are bombarded by the media of what we think we want. But when you actually step back and look at it, what do you actually need? Because they're two totally different things. I often, I'm a go-getter. I'm never content. I'm always trying to do things and move on. And sometimes that's a good thing, but a lot of times I think it's a fault. I'm often very jealous, I think, if that's the right word, of people who are content, who are not striving all the time to get bigger and better, who are very content with what they've got in their life, and they've found an inner peace. And you often find that with people who work in, particularly people who do work outside in the country and everything, that they're at peace with the earth and peace with the world, and they don't strive for the material things. Because if you think about it, we live in Scotland. We're not meant to have tans. So a fake tan, what does it do? It makes you feel good for a week, and then you have to go and spend 15 quid on it again, or 20 quid, or whatever it is. So it's about saying, what are the things that will help you through life? What do we really need? And let's be honest, when you break it down to very simplistic things, it's a roof over your head, food and water, and clothes, and be clean. That's it. We need very, very little. It's about finding happiness away from material things, or having material things that bring you joy and happiness without having all the material things that sit in a cupboard because you never look at them. So it's very difficult, because we are in a very commercial world. We are bombarded everywhere we look by the media to buy things that we don't need. And the classic is things in the supermarket. The supermarket, they have got it down to a T of where the position product, how the price product. It's buy two. It's £2.50, but you buy two, it's £4. So what people do, they buy the two at £4 because they think they're saving money. But what they've actually bought is something that they actually don't need, because they only need one of the items rather than two. And I'm as guilty as anybody. I get sucked into it. It's about being clever. It's about being clever in the marketeers, and really try to understand what makes you happy, because does having a fake tan that costs you a lot of money, it means you might not be able to spend money on some of the necessities in life. So looking after your eyesight, looking after your dental health, getting yourself proper clothing, keeping yourself fit, eating the proper food, because you spent money on something that you don't really need. But I've got to say, it's hugely difficult. I was brought up a Roman Catholic. I'm not practicing now, but what I am is a Christian, and I believe that in the world there are more people that are good than bad, and I have my faith in my fellow man, and I love human beings. I think human beings are interesting. I like watching human beings, I like studying them, and I often wonder, why do we do some of the things that we do? And I think it's about having faith in humanity and faith in society. That's where your faith maybe has to be. Your faith has to be in the world that we live in. There may be something beyond this life, I don't know. But at the moment, what I do know is what I do know, and that's the world that I live in. And I believe that we have to try and do the right things more than we do the wrong things. I believe in that we have to show people what the right things are. And people will make mistakes. People do things that are silly, and they make mistakes. And we have to show them that, or let them understand, and that's even yourself when you make mistakes, to understand that you've made a mistake. And we're allowed to make mistakes. But what you've got to do is try and learn from that mistake and improve your life and others around you. So what's my life about now? My life is about what am I creating for the future? What am I creating for my fellow man, for the humans that I interact with? What will be my legacy in life? So my faith, if you like, my faith is in the here and now and the people that inhabit the earth. And what are we doing for the people that will inhabit the earth in the future? Was probably the 80s. And the reason for that was I saw a lot of death and destruction and despair in the 80s. And that wasn't just through the Falklands War where I saw friends killed. You know, obviously my two brothers were killed in the 80s as well. Well, one in 1990 actually, but he was diagnosed with his illness in the 80s. A very good friend of mine died in the 80s. So I saw a lot of death in the 80s. And that made me realise that life was for living. And that was a real turning point, because that made me think about what I could achieve if I really applied myself. I think it was a real turning point where I decided that I wasn't going to fall into the mould of leaving the army and going back to university, because that's what I was meant to do. I was going to be leaving the army, go back to university, get that job that I'd probably been for 30 or 40 years and retire. And I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to try and do is really take things on and try and get the bucket list, if you like, not just from a work perspective, but in life achievements. So things like, from my own point, the bucket list is you know, going to Kilimanjaro, going to the Himalayas, flying helicopters, parachuting, you know, cage diving with the sharks in South Africa. All these achievements, and they were not. A lot of those are not material. Were not material things. They were just things that I wanted to do within my life. It wasn't about having big houses and fast cars and all that sort of stuff. But then there was the business side, the personal achievement of what you can create. And I look at my business as a care business, and I think I tick a lot of boxes as far as I'm concerned. We have a service that provides care for elderly and mental health people with mental health problems. So that's a service to the community that they live in. We create jobs. We employ over 1,000 people, so we're creating jobs, which then creates taxes that go back into the society and gives people money to go and spend. And I get personal satisfaction out of building a business. So, you know, if you like, I looked at my life. The death that I saw and destruction that I saw at a very young age was really a catalyst for me to go and achieve as much as I could. And it made me really look at life as something to be enjoyed, but not to be wasted. And that was the key, that I wasn't going to waste my life. I wanted to achieve, and I wanted to leave a legacy. So the 80s and the death that I saw there was a major changing point for me, a major changing point in my life that made me realise that God had put me on this earth for a reason. And I think when you see people close to you dying, you do sit back and think, why have they been taken and not me? And part of my conclusion was, because he's left you here to do a job. And people often say to me, well, Tony, when will you finish that job? And I feel like sometimes I feel a bit like a missionary, because I'll know when I finish that job, when my work is finished. When my work is done, I'll know. So I believe I've been put here for a reason and been spared, if you like. And that is to make sure that I contribute to society, that I help my fellow man. And when people look back at my life and say, yeah, he did some good. I think everybody has their down days. You know, I try to get out of my bed every day with a spring in my step and think, bring it on, no matter what it is, good, bad or indifferent. When I've got my down days, I try to think, why am I feeling down? Because I think it's a downward spiral. When somebody's a bit depressed, when you feel a bit bad about life, and you tend to just get sucked in where it gets worse and worse and worse. So what I try to do is do something positive, something that will make me feel better, something that will touch me. And generally there's two things that I do. I either seek solitude, and by that I mean I go hill walking and just get outside. I tend to go outside, get the dog, go for a walk, and just get at one with the world. Because I'm breathing, I'm walking, I've got my health, I've got a dog, and you know, I'm alive. So that's a big tick in my box. I'm still breathing. I think the other thing that I do, if I don't do that, I go and seek company of people. People that can maybe make me laugh, take my mind off the problem that I've had, perhaps share the problem with them. I think often, particularly males, we're very bad at sharing our problems and talking about our problems. So I think it's about taking positive action. When you feel down, the last thing you want to do is sit and feel sorry for yourself. You've got to go and try and do something that will make you feel better. And that doesn't mean turning to drugs and alcohol and all the rest of it. That's about doing something that will make you glow inside, not just for that 5 minutes of satisfaction, but will give you satisfaction for a long period of time, for days. And I think that there's two things I said to do. One, go out, get one with the countryside, the nature, or two, I seek company and people. I give a lot of talks to school children at universities, after dinner speaking, etc. And I tend to always wind it up with the one saying. And that is that goes probably back to the philosophy I'm about being put on life, what we're put on about life and why we're put on earth. And I tend to say that we should aspire to inspire or expire. So what does that actually mean? That means that I think it's incumbent on people to aspire to something, to try and achieve something with their life, and hopefully that will inspire others to do the same. And if you do neither of those things, you're going to expire and have done nothing. So aspire to inspire or expire is the saying that I live my life by. What I hope is that somebody somewhere has got something from what I've said today. I often, again, when I'm giving talks to universities and school kids and after dinner, I often say, listen to what people are saying. Even if you think they're the biggest idiot in the world, listen to what they've got to say, because they might have that one gem, that one gem that can change your life, that you can hang your hat on, that you can think, that is brilliant, that is genius. And I have done that so many times. So listen to what people have to say, because they might just have that absolute golden nugget that we're all looking for. I hope you enjoyed my little chat. Good luck for the future. Thanks and goodbye.